Imagine this with me for a moment. A man in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, sits at his kitchen table near the window. The soft morning light slips through the curtain. On the table, a slice of toast, a mug of black coffee, and the morning paper still untouched. He takes slow bites. No rush, no noise. It all seems so ordinary. But then he exhales. Leans back in his chair. And there's this faraway look in his eyes. No one hears him whisper, "I guess I'm just not myself anymore." That morning, nothing looked out of place. No red flags. No loud warnings. Just a routine breakfast like he's had for decades. But here's the truth most men never hear until it's already too late. That slice of toast may be the very thing that's slowly shutting down the part of you that still wants to feel strong, alive, and like a man. And I say that not to scare you, but because after over 30 years working with men over 60, I've seen this one mistake cost more vitality than aging ever did. Here's what the research, and more importantly what real life tells us. 9 out of 10 men over 60 are starting their mornings with a silent mistake that cuts off circulation, down there, before the day even begins. It's not your testosterone. It's not just age. And it's not about willpower. It's about breakfast. They say, you are what you eat, but as a doctor who's listened to hundreds of men struggling quietly behind closed doors, let me say it more clearly. You are how you start your day, and if you're skipping breakfast, or starting with black coffee, processed toast, or sugary cereals, then chances are you're not just feeding your body the wrong thing, you're cutting off the very signal your body needs to feel like a man. Now, the question is, what exactly happens inside your body in that first hour of the day? Why is it the most powerful window you've been overlooking? And most importantly, how do we restart the system that's quietly been fading? That's exactly where we're heading, starting with the subtle signs your body has been whispering, long before you noticed anything was wrong. Let's talk about that next. You see, by the time a man walks into my office and says, "Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore," the real damage has already begun quietly, gradually, and almost always unnoticed. It doesn't start with a heart attack. Or even something obvious like erectile dysfunction. It starts much earlier, in ways most men brush off as just getting older, like waking up with heavy legs. That dull ache in your lower back or groin. The feeling that your morning energy just isn't there anymore. Or that your confidence, especially in intimate moments, has quietly left the room. But here's what most doctors never explain to you. These aren't signs of aging. They're signals of disrupted blood flow. And for men over 60, one of the first places where blood flow begins to decline is exactly where it matters most to your identity, your strength, and your connection. This isn't just about intimacy. It's about the fire behind your eyes when you walk into a room. The energy in your step. The ability to look at your partner and feel like you again. So, what's causing it? What's quietly cutting off the very circulation that fuels your manhood? The answer is surprisingly simple: your breakfast. Not eating is one issue. But worse than skipping breakfast is starting your day with the wrong fuel. Refined carbs like toast and jam. Coffee on an empty stomach. Sugary cereals, or no food at all. They may feel normal, but they trigger a cascade of biological reactions that tighten blood vessels, spike cortisol, drop testosterone, and leave the muscles in your pelvis starving for oxygen and nutrients. Let me put it this way, your body isn't broken. It's just not getting the signal it needs to turn on in the morning. Without the right food, at the right time, your nitric oxide levels stay low. Your blood vessels don't open. And your body says, "I guess we're not needed today." Over time, that becomes your new normal. Low energy, low drive, low presence. But the truth is, it's not who you are. It's just what your body is responding to. And that means something incredible: you can change it. In the next part, I want to show you exactly what happened when one of my patients, Frank, realized this truth. And how one tiny shift in his morning routine led to something he hadn't felt in years. Let's talk about it. Because his story might just sound a little like yours. Frank came to see me on a quiet Wednesday morning. He was 71, a retired mechanical engineer from Ohio. Still had strong shoulders, firm handshake, and this quiet pride in the way he walked. But the moment he sat down, I saw something different. Not in his posture but in his eyes. They carried a heaviness that words didn't need to explain. After a few moments of small talk, he leaned in slightly and said, "I still love my wife. Deeply, but lately, I feel like my body doesn't love her back." He wasn't talking about desire. That was still alive. What he meant was presence. He'd stopped initiating intimacy not because he didn't want it but because something inside him no longer responded. Morning after morning, he'd wake up flat. No fire, no spark, no signal from his body. He thought maybe it was just age. Maybe this was the part where a man lets go of that side of himself. But something in his voice told me he wasn't ready to let go. He just didn't know how to hold on. So I asked him something most doctors don't. "Frank, tell me, what do your mornings look like?" He chuckled. "Same as always, doc. Coffee. Maybe a piece of toast. Sometimes nothing if I'm not hungry." And there it was. The missing piece. Not a diagnosis. Not a disease. Just a skipped opportunity. Every morning, Frank's body was waiting for a signal. Waiting for fuel, for nourishment, for something to say, "We're still alive. Let's go," and every morning, he gave it, silence. No wonder his body had stopped responding. It wasn't broken. It had just been ignored. So I gave Frank a new plan. Not a prescription. Not a hormone shot. Just a breakfast. A real one. 2 eggs yolk and all. Half an avocado with a drizzle of olive oil. A handful of blackberries. And water first thing. I told him, this isn't just food. This is your signal. Let your body know it's time to be a man again. He nodded, a little skeptical, but something shifted in his face. 3 weeks later, Frank walked back into my office. Different man. He smiled as soon as he saw me. His posture was straighter. His voice lighter. "Doc," he said, "I didn't expect this. But the other morning, I woke up. And I knew, I was back. And this time, my wife knew too." That's the moment most men think they've lost forever. But it's not gone. It's just been waiting. Quietly. For the right message. And now, maybe you're ready to send that message too. In the next part, I'll show you exactly what Frank did, step by step, and why it worked, not just physically, but emotionally, hormonally, and biologically. Because the breakfast that changed everything for him might just be the beginning of everything for you. Frank didn't start with a miracle pill. He didn't need a new gym membership, a testosterone patch, or some expensive supplement from late-night TV. He started with something much simpler and far more powerful. A plate. A fork. And a decision to stop starving the very system that made him feel like a man. So what exactly did he eat? 1. 2 whole eggs, soft-boiled or scrambled inside those golden yolks. Leucine to repair muscle. Choline to strengthen nerve signals. Vitamin D to support testosterone. But more than that, eggs deliver a steady protein release that gently nudges your body. You're safe. Let's rebuild. 2. Half an avocado with a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. This wasn't just for flavor. Avocados are packed with monounsaturated fats, the exact building blocks your body uses to produce hormones like testosterone. And that olive oil? It's loaded with polyphenols and anti-inflammatory compounds that help keep arteries relaxed and flexible, especially down there. Together, they don't just nourish you, they stabilize you. Blood sugar, blood pressure, emotional steadiness, all supported. 3. A handful of blackberries, not for sweetness but for science. Blackberries are rich in anthocyanins, compounds that strengthen capillaries and improve circulation. For men over 60, those tiny blood vessels in the pelvic region are the first to shut down, and the first to respond when you feed them what they've been missing. Now here's the real secret: it wasn't just what Frank ate. It was when he ate it. Within 30 minutes of waking up. Why? Because in that first hour after sleep, your body is running on empty, but your repair systems are wide open. Your blood vessels are ready to absorb nutrients. Your nervous system is waiting for input. Your testosterone is looking for support. And if you skip that moment, or fill it with caffeine and sugar, you lose the one window that matters most. What Frank did was simple: he gave his body what it needed when it needed it. And in return? His circulation returned. His energy lifted. His sense of presence in his marriage, in his mornings, in his own skin came roaring back. Because this wasn't just breakfast. It was a message. A biological reset. A quiet act of respect for a body that had been waiting far too long. And your body? It's still waiting too. So tomorrow morning, what message will you send? Up next, I'll walk you through what happens when you repeat this shift day by day and how most men start to feel different, not in months, but in 7, 14, and 30 days. Let's look at the timeline that changed Frank's life and could very well change yours. Most men expect change to take forever. They've been told for years that once strength fades, it's gone. That once energy slips away, it's just part of aging. That morning vitality, the kind that quietly says, "I'm here, I'm whole, I'm still him," is a thing of the past. But what if I told you, your body's repair systems don't wait months? They respond within days when you give them the right signal, at the right time. Let me walk you through what happened to Frank and what happens in most of my patients when they begin this simple breakfast shift. Day 7 lightness returns. The first sign is subtle. Not dramatic, not cinematic, but real. Frank told me, I stood up in the morning, and my legs didn't feel like stone. His steps felt easier. His lower back wasn't aching. There was a quiet strength in his core that surprised him. That's blood flow. That's nitric oxide waking up. That's your arteries opening, for the first time in years. Day 14, the signal comes back. This is the moment that makes men pause. Frank said it simply, I didn't expect it. But I woke up, and I was ready. Like my body remembered me again. Morning erections begin to return. Not forced, not drug-induced. Just the natural consequence of circulation restored. Testosterone levels begin to rise. Cortisol drops. Sleep deepens. And something inside says, you're not done. Day 30, he felt like a man again. By week 4, the change isn't just physical. It's emotional. Frank walked differently. He started calling his wife, darlin', again. He laughed more. He looked people in the eye. I didn't know how much I missed feeling grounded, he told me, but now, it's like I'm back in my own body. That's what real healing looks like. Not perfection, but presence. Strength that's quiet, but unshakable. And it all began with what he ate in the first 30 minutes of the day. You see, this isn't about eggs and berries. It's not even about erections. It's about sending your body the one message it's been begging for. We are not done, we are rebuilding. And when you send that message day after day, your body listens. Because it remembers. It always has. Next, I want to show you what all of this truly means, not just for your health, but for your story, your identity, your relationships. In the final part, we'll talk about what it means to reclaim your mornings and rewrite what aging looks and feels like from this day forward. Let's finish this together. Let me say this clearly because you may not have heard it in a long time, you are not broken. You are rebuildable. Aging doesn't take your strength. It only reveals where you've stopped being nourished. Not just by food but by rhythm, rest, belief, and presence. Frank didn't just regain function. He reclaimed identity. That quiet dignity in the way he moved. The way he reached for his wife's hand again. The way he started greeting the morning not with dread, but with direction. That's what true transformation looks like in a man's later years. Not flashy. Not loud. But undeniable. A kind of steady power that says, I'm still here. I still matter. And I'm not done yet. So what does this mean for you? It means tomorrow morning is no longer just another day. It's not just toast. It's not just coffee. It's a message. A decision. To feed your body like it's still worth fighting for because it is. To give yourself the same respect you've given others your whole life. To start your day not with silence, but with fuel. To say to your blood, your bones, your heart, wake up, we're still going. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to be perfect. Just start. Start with breakfast. Start with presence. Start with a plate that says, I'm not fading, I'm rising. And if this message touched something inside you, if you felt even the smallest flicker of, maybe I'm ready, then please don't keep it to yourself. Comment 1 below so I know you're still in the fight. Share this video with a brother, a father, a friend, any man you care about who might be walking through mornings feeling half alive. Because the truth is, we rise stronger when we rise together. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are just getting started. And your new chapter begins with breakfast.